band is this?
Everybody poops sometimes.
Give us the smother.
Wake up, sweetness.
Your first time should be more than special.
I'm in, Savannah said. Good Lord, Gemma.
When a man and a woman, in this case, really, really love each other, what happens is they fuck.
Ooh, hello?
Oh, dang it, I lost my fish.
This next word almost sounds like Quidditch. Quidditch milade Diana Agosiagath an Fiedian.
As much as I love fucking you, sweetness. We stared into each other's eyes whilst I moaned in ecstasy. Having consumed half of the bourbon, I keep saying bourbon. You know, every time I mess up on a word, Stunt Mama just shows up.
She had her seductive smile on her lips.
I said we couldn't have sex. I didn't say anything about everything else. Ew. Happy to help. Biatch. You are the spark of light in the vastness of my night. His note, like a finality to a beautiful, breathtaking song.
That's right. Beautiful. Breathtaking song. What's that? Well done. Now a snack. It's good to see you now. Stepmama's mama. How are you? Chaotic Carl's in the house. My goodness. Media chaos. Over there. And Beeves here. Hi, Beeve. What's up? And Caesar. Can't understand a damn thing you're saying. Very crackle. Might sound like crap.
How about now? Is it better? Much better? Okay. You know, my mic stuff the past 2 or 3 days has been really having issues. It's very annoying. But anyway, what I was saying was, hi, I'm having a snack. It's good to see you. Stepmama's mama, Chaotic Carly. Amlas, Firebeath, Caesar. If I stay still, I have blood flow problems, pain and numbness. So I need to move every hour. That sounds delightful. Just minus the delightful part. I am so sorry to hear that. That doesn't sound good at all. Hip surgery. Ah. I am very sorry. I am very, very sorry. That doesn't sound great. I do not wish that upon you or anybody to be in that kind of discomfort post-surgery. No bueno. Just finishing my granola bar here. Don't mind me. We have a really cool puzzle tonight. It's of a dragon and a castle. Why, pray tell, did I choose a dragon and a castle? Well, that's because right after stream, at about 9 p.m. Central, about 2 hours from now, we're going to be in Stunt Mama's Discord reading Fourth Wing, which is all about dragons. So, there you go. That is the reason why. Now, you may be wondering, what's this other box above my head? Which I can certainly make bigger. If you thought to yourself, gosh, that looks a lot like a word search, you're right. We're going to try something new. I found this, but I haven't actually had a chance to test it yet. So, you have a traction machine, an ice machine. Yes, get that blood flow. We're gonna try something new tonight. Where I create a word search that you should be able to jump into. So, I am creating it. Copy. I've got a link. So if you do ! word search, all one word, you should be able to enter the word search just like I did. Be cool to make one with the titles of the books you have read. You know, I think I actually could. I should be able to do that, now that you mention it. I'll have to give that a try. I haven't played around with it too much because, again, I need to make sure it's actually going to work. So even if you're not going to play it, try and jump in and see if it works for me, because I need somebody to test this out. I need a guinea pig to see if this works. Hi, Mitchell. Good to see you. And I'll be honest with y'all, I had a great first half of my day. The second half of my day got really poopy with work. Stressful and just not great. And I got super tired super fast. I came this close to canceling tonight. Like, super close. But I thought to myself, every time I felt like that in the past, I've forced myself to get in here and hang out with you all. And I've almost every time felt way better. So I'm hoping that that continues. Rio, I was lurking on you. My gosh. Let me not watch myself, because that's weird. Hi Rio. Thank you so much for the raid. How the heck are you? And Beeve, I see you doing the word search. Awesome. Wow, you're just nailing it. The only thing is it doesn't work on mobile. Ah, that stinks. Alright, well, good to know. That was Stunt Mama yesterday. I would have missed you if you hadn't streamed. I would have missed me too, so thank you. Rio, thank you for raiding. Amlas, can you please give Rio a lovely shout out? You doing alright today? I'm a little tired. I'm a bit stressed with work and trying to find a house that we can move to and you know, all that stuff. But I'm doing all right. I mean, this too shall pass. You know what I mean? This too shall pass. But yeah, it's been a bit stressful. I can't really get into it with the work stuff because it's complicated and it would be boring to listen to. But hopefully it gets better. Is it possible to mute the random fart noise that comes through when people find? Yeah, I didn't even know it was going to do that. Sound effects. Gone. Sound effects are gone. I should try and see if I can... Is the word fish on here? They're not even in alphabetical order. Okay, I found the word fish, but fish is not an option. So there you go. Trust me to go find a word that isn't part of the word search. So yeah, there's a puzzle. You can do exclamation point word search to do the word search. You know, all the cool things. Rio, thank you for rating me. That was super kind of you. I realize you probably have to raid and run, you know, get some food, take care of yourself. Totally understand. Take care of you right now. I have to get some noms, yes. Get your noms on. Well, thank you for bringing your people over here. I appreciate that. And Julie, it's good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Tonight we're going to keep going with the book The Fall. And then at 9 p.m. Central, we're going to be in that Discord continuing to read Fourth Wing in the event chat section. Fourth Wing. Thank you, Rio. You know, on that note, we're just going to get into it. And for anyone that joins on Kick, hello, good to see you. I would have been streaming on YouTube as well, but for some reason, YouTube didn't want to work. So, we're not on YouTube tonight, but that's okay. Not a big deal. Not a big deal. I have the book in front of me. I have my tea. I've had my snack. I've got all of you lovely people to read to. You're doing a word search. You're doing a puzzle. It's great. Let's get cozy. Exclamation point fall if you want to learn more about this book and any other work that our authors, two authors, have done. You're more than welcome to check those out. You're the best babysitter ever. Well, you know, I try. I do try. Down below in my about section, I did add back in some sounds, just so you are aware. I also added my horror-themed milkshake video. That's right. Now you're all curious. At least it should be there. I guess I can't actually go see it because I don't have that screen in front of me. But it should be there. Alright. We're on page 71. Unless anybody has any questions, comments, or concerns. Sit back, relax, and I'll read you a story. Chapter 6. Jason stared at the police tape-covered door that led into the stash house. He felt a churning in his stomach, and his arms felt like they were vibrating, a mix of apprehension and anticipation. Alexei was at the forefront of his thoughts, a welcome reprieve from the memories of the horror show of the day before. Memories he hadn't visited in many years seemed to pop up in a strange word association game. Snippets of conversations he heard or random objects or smells would tug at things he hadn't thought about in, well, he couldn't remember when. Jason huffed out a sigh. Okay, ready? No? Les said and pushed the door open and parted the warning tape. He turned to the uniformed officer that was guarding the door. Anyone else been in since we sealed it yesterday? The officer looked at his clipboard. No, doesn't look that way. Looks like the ME was the last one here, taking out the... The officer's face began to get a green tinge to it. Well, you know. Baby Blue, glad to be back. Hello. Well, hi there. Welcome back to the show. And by show, I mean book. Jason nodded and stepped through the tape after his partner. The distracting memories were washed away with the jarring equivalent, excuse me, of a bucket of ice water on his face. The apartment looked exactly the same as it had the day before, with the notable exception of no body parts. Nothing else had been cleaned or touched, preserving those moments of butchery. Jason was glad he didn't have to see the human meat pile again. Jason and Les silently moved around the room, carefully stepping around any evidence marked with small numbered tripod placards. They fell into a rhythm they had perfected over the years, giving each other the time to process the scene individually without polluting each other's thought processes with their own ideas. A habit that Les instilled in him on the first day they were partnered together. Never get blindly caught up in the other one's theory, he said at the first crime scene. A robbery homicide. Don't limit the possibilities with what someone else is thinking. Let the evidence do that. If you watch and listen to the scene, it will tell you what happened. That's like monk detective stuff right there. For those of you that watched Monk, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Heidi. Hi, Heidi. Hi, Heidi. Okay, what do you have to say? Jason said under his breath. Talk to me. You got the reference? That's a great show. Such a wonderful show. I watched the Monk movie too. The creative bug has bit, so I'm listening while I create. Fantastic. There's also a puzzle and a word search if you want to do a word search. At first glance, the room was chaos. Smashed bottles, overturned furniture, and blood. The blood was smeared haphazardly over every surface, creating a macabre Jackson Pollock painting. Jason looked past that and tried to envision the scene without it. Who benefits? Jason murmured. A lieutenant? The officer asked from the doorway. Huh? Jason said, looking up. You said, who benefits? What do you mean? Oh, Jason said, realizing he had said it louder than he thought. Just a homicide thing. Murder always has a motivation, like jealousy or rage or hiding something. Things like that. If we can figure out who I beg your pardon. You alright there, Stump Papa? Big dinner? If we can figure out who benefits from the murder, we have a huge leg up on finding the murderer. You beg my pardon. I'm sorry, you were the one that had the gas, not me. That's just a fact. I think I get it, the officer said. Huh, interesting. I heard it come from you. I'm sorry, sir. You must be mistaken. Twitch keeps telling me to share this, so here it is, even though it's a fake sub because you're not affiliated. You're not wrong. That is correct. And it's very strange to hear that sound because I'm like, what? No. Huh? It's good to see you, Stunts. Look, I have a word search now. Exclamation point word search. If you want to check it out. Glad to be here. I'm glad you're here. I need my friends tonight. I had a great morning hanging out with y'all. And then this afternoon, things just kind of went crappy. And it really sucked. And I almost didn't stream because of it. But I'm glad I did. We're at the top of the page on page 73, by the way. Jason nodded towards Les. Learned it from him. Les didn't turn around from the blood spatter he was examining. I learned it from Batman. The officer looked confused. Who, sir? Batman? Are you kidding me? Les looked over his shoulder with a look of pure incredulousness on his face. You don't know who Batman is? Should I? For the love of... Les stood. The Dark Knight? The caped crusader of Gotham? Founding member of the Justice League? The officer scrunched his face to one side in embarrassment. Was he a professional wrestler or something? Les' mouth remained open in exasperation, and he slowly shook his head as he turned back to the blood splatter. Gilopolas, which means dumbass. I just can't with these. The officer leaned towards Jason, still not entering the room, and whispered, Did I offend him? Jason quietly laughed. Yeah, a little. Jason couldn't help but smile. He felt some of the tension in his chest that had settled in as soon as they entered the apartment dissipate, and he was grateful for the unintentional humor. Les was muttering to himself when Jason reached his side, and Les rose again to stand. I swear, if it's not in a game or a 10-second video, these kids... He pulled out his notebook and started scribbling notes. Jason looked over his shoulder to see what he was writing. But he had long given up trying to decode his partner's chicken scratch. Upon scrawling a final slash of something into the notes, Les looked up. Okay, what do you see? Jason turned and gestured to the shattered glass on the floor and tables on one side of the room. Okay, so the glass over here and here, I think this was from the beer bottles when the coffee table was knocked over, probably during the assault. Overturned table is there, and the glass is all under it and spreading away in the direction it tipped. But this glass over here, Jason said, motioning to the shattered pieces near the wall opposite the door. I don't see any furniture nearby, so if I had to guess, someone threw it over here. Maybe at the perp, or maybe the perp threw it themselves? Les nodded in concurrence. Means someone was standing over there. He fished around in one of the pockets in his long coat and pulled out a small flashlight. He flipped it on and twisted the end until a bright bluish purple radiated from the diodes, and it shone on the floor where the shards lay. No blood. He twisted the light again until it shone yellow. He pulled down his goggles and made an adjustment to the settings. Got a footprint. Jason lowered his goggles and changed the setting to match the light. and the faint pattern of what looked like to be a boot tread began to fluoresce subtly. So I can, Stunt Mama, could you come back for just a moment so I can read better? Thank you. He snapped a picture with his phone and added the new evidence to the log. Looks like it's facing towards the door, not away. So they were facing whoever threw the bottle. Get good, really? Okay. Thanks. Amlas, can we have a shout out for Stunt Mama, please? And for Haiti, for that matter. Two wonderful human beings, both within their own right. Les shut the light off and lifted his goggles. He pointed to some blood on the wall next to him. Arterial spray. He gestured toward the wall, opening his closed fingers to demonstrate something exploding out. Hits the wall here. So this victim was facing away. He took 2 steps toward the next the next closest blood, and traced a line in the air with his finger. This one is coming toward the first one. He pointed to the glass on the ground to his left that Jason had just logged. Bottle is thrown here. He pivoted his head to each of the bloodstains that, while still chaotic and everywhere, Jason could now start seeing as discrete units. I don't really know what that means. That doesn't make sense to me. Can't find. Heyd 763. HEYD 763. And yes, word search. Thank you. Exclamation point word search. And once that one gets finished, I can easily whip up a new one. Where was I? Oh, right. 3 more, all aimed towards the center of the room. He walked to the opposite side of the room where the overturned table ended. This one is aimed away. Jason began to piece the timeline together. So, victim 1 was here, he said, moving to the first arterial spray Les pointed out. Blitz attack. Doesn't know what hit him. Moves to victim 2. And he stepped toward the second spray. He made the sign for kill. Boom, dropped. One of the others has time to throw a bottle, but doesn't hit the perp where there's any exposed skin. They still might be in UV gear. Then, boom, boom, boom. Jason finished gesturing towards the next 3 blood splatters. Last one tries to make it over the table, Les said. Attacked from behind, and Les made the same sign for kill. The partners stood silent for a moment, then another, processing their theory. Jason glanced around the room again, trying to see the big picture, ignoring the blood. The remaining scene looked like the room had been turned upside down, cabinets partially open, some hanging half off their hinges, drawers partially open, but the refrigerators containing ampules of splice remained untouched. Les nodded to the untouched drugs. Robbery? Couldn't find a key to open the fridge? There's at least 30 grand of splice in there, wholesale. Worth 2 to 3 times as much on the street. Definitely worth dropping 6 bodies. Maybe, Jason muttered. The drawers kept pulling his attention. Something about them. No, not a robbery. Look here. He pointed at the column of drawers that were partially shut. All of the drawers aren't open. Les signed, I don't understand. If this were a stick-up boy or someone who knew what they were doing, And let's face it, whoever did this, they knew what they were doing. They wouldn't take the time to open a drawer and then close it. Jason opened the top drawer. Blocks all of the other drawers takes more time. He closed the drawer and opened the one on the bottom, then the one over it. They would have started at the bottom and worked their way up, leaving all the drawers open. Les nodded. Good eye. This wasn't a robbery, Jason continued. This was a hit made to look like a robbery. He pulled up his phone to make a note to follow up on his thought later and saw the picture of the glowing footprint. Got something? Les asked. I'll tell you what I don't have is music. For some reason, this track takes forever to finish. Okay. Not sure, Jason said. He glanced back where they found it. Hold on, he said and walked back to the evidence marker. Vic 1 was here, right? Les nodded. We're both in agreement. It started here. Couldn't have gone down any other way? Les closed his eyes in thought, then shook his head. Nope, I don't see any other way. Unless we're missing something major. That's how this went down. He narrowed his eyes. Because if it did... They glanced back at the door on the opposite side of the room. It means they were already in the room when they hit Vic 1. Yeah, Jason finished. And if it were a robbery, they wouldn't have started here. They would have started with Vic 6. Smash and grab. Inside job, they both said together. And no one saw someone covered head to toe in blood leave, Jason said. Nothing on the drones either, and we had our people on the roof. So how did they get out? Les got a sour look on his face. Secret door? Kilobyte. Hi Killa, how you doing? They both turned slowly, re-examining the scene. The room was filled with the silence of buzzing fluorescent lights and the low whisper of the vents. The vents. Where's the mechanical room? Jason said, quickly looking for a door. 2 doors led to closets with benign storage, but the third he pulled open led to a small room with utility meters and a quietly humming HVAC system. It took up most of the space. That thing is huge. That's what she said. Les said, way bigger than is needed for an apartment of this size. It's for the refrigerator units, Jason said. They need to vent the heat shed. Otherwise, it shows up on infrared. Jason banged and pulled on the ducts leading out from it. Bang, nothing. Bang, still nothing. Bang! The sheet metal slightly separated from the vent. Jason and Les pulled at it, and an entire section pulled free, revealing access to the duct as it climbed up into the ceiling. Well, dollars to donuts, that's how they got in and out, Les said. You want to see where that goes? Jason was already climbing into the vent before Les finished his sentence. He reached up, pulled himself in, and snapped on his pocket flashlight. The duct turned upward and the ceiling at a sharp angle. He noisily backed out. I think it goes to the roof. As his flashlight tracked across the apartment, a tiny glint in the corner caught his eye. He approached and saw it was partially jammed under the baseboard heater, all but hidden from view except from where he had been standing. He picked up a small piece of metal and turned it in his hand under the flashlight. Find something? Les asked. Yeah, Jason said. Looks like a pen with 2 lacrosse sticks on it. He held it closer to his face. Looks like it says BYC Lax. Any idea what BYC is? Les was silent for a moment. Maybe Burton Youth Center? Local sports program. I think they have lacrosse. Burton, Jason mumbled to himself. Then his heart sank into his guts. What is it? Les called. I think things just got complicated, Jason replied. Les approached and took the pin into his hand. Could be the kids. He held it up to the light and examined it closer. Could also belong to anyone from the rec center. And it's right down the road. Would be a pretty big coincidence. Coincidences mean you're on the right path, Jason replied. He held his flashlight in his mouth and hauled himself back into the duct, pulling himself further into where it made a sharp turn upward. He saw injected putty, where whoever built the system had tied it into the apartment's building ducts. He shimmied around the tight turn, stood with his shoulders hunched, and shone his light upward. Where he expected to see a clear path to the roof, he saw only a few floors up, and the duct abruptly turned again. No light shone through. He braced his hands and boots against the galvanized steel and pushed himself upwards, wedging himself into the space as he inched his way through. His foot slipped, and he braced himself to keep from sliding back down, but lost his grip on the light. It bounced off his leg and clattered down to the bottom of the shaft. Jason knew the vent should go all the way up. He also knew that sometimes dealers would use HVAC ducts to stash drugs, money, guns, and other contraband. His gloved hand pushed into something tacky on the metal. He peeled his hand off the surface but couldn't see what it was in the darkness. He felt and groped above him, sure he was close to the blockage. He shimmied up a few more inches and fished again. This time his hand felt something. Didn't feel like any fabric or plastic for a bag. It had a little give to it. He found purchase on something and gave it a little tug to pull it free. It budged, a fraction of an inch. He tugged again, and he felt something slip and release. Something much heavier than he was anticipating collapsed on him. He felt his breath evacuate his body as he lost his purchase on the duct and slipped, crashing at the bottom with whatever it was on top of him. "Estás bien?" Les called from the end of the vent. "Yeah," Jason said, feeling embarrassed. He felt his flashlight digging into his back and maneuvered to retrieve it. He clicked it on to see what had fallen on him. He shouted something incomprehensible when the light revealed the lifeless eye of a naked office Novak folded into an inhuman position. Yay. That's gross. Oh wow, look at you guys. Let's see. 32, 18, and 14. So you've got 30, 40, 50, 64 words. Nice. Oh, make that more. I agree. You. Yeah. Let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor. Moving on. There's a time break in our story. "I want a complete recanvass of the entire building," Jason told his team. "We're looking for any information about Marcus Klein or who Novak last had contact with. A recent photo of Marcus has been sent to your phones." The kid connected to the stash house? Oh, hold on. Getting another lovely spam phone call. Fantastic. The guy asked while looking at the photo on her phone. We have reason to believe that he's a material witness, Jason replied. But let's keep that quiet. Don't need to cause any more trouble for the family or him. As far as anyone knows, we're just looking for a missing kid. Do not let out that we've got a dead cop. Our best guess is that's how our perp got out of the building. He nodded at the team. Remember, headgear off when we go inside. Go. The task force scattered into the apartment building, and Jason turned to the gaggle of uniformed officers who had responded to the backup call he put out a few minutes earlier. Everyone else, I want a hard target search of every nook, cranny, alley, and vault hole in a 6-block radius from here. Same deal. As far as anyone knows, we're just looking for a missing kid who may be in danger. Don't spook anyone, but make sure anyone you speak with knows the gravity of the situation. Les stepped up next to Jason. As unlikely as it is, if you should find Marcus Klein in the company of anyone who is not an immediate family member or an officer, maintain distance. Given what we know, any adult he's with is likely very dangerous. Wait for backup and call us. Do not approach. Understood? A round of affirmations returned. Ramirez, Geralt, Jason called out. You two hang back. Everyone else, good hunting. The briefing broke up and the officers began fanning down the street. Les looked up and down the block. Don't take us off this, Lou, Ramirez said. Not going to, Jason said, but you two were the last ones to see Novak. Anything grab your attention? Anyone that you saw, or something they said that stood out? Geralt and Ramirez looked at each other through their tinted goggles, then turned back to Jason. About the kid, you mean? Ramirez asked, her voice going up at the end in uncertainty towards his questions. Superkinson, what's up, dude? Is that a word search? You bet it is. And it's 2/3 done. Exclamation point word search if you want to get in on it. Or there's always a puzzle, depending on what your challenge level feels like. I have no idea, by the way, when the word search is done, if it's going to give me some kind of alert. So, if you are done, someone tell me in chat, just in case. And that way I can try starting a new one. This is the first time we've used this, and if I can make it go pretty quickly and easily, we will continue to do it. I'll probably make it bigger too, because it's kind of small on the screen. That way you can see, an idea of where you're at. Where was I? Oh, right. Anything, Les said. We weren't looking for markers yesterday, but sometimes looking for one thing can lead to the other. I mean, not really, Geralt said. It didn't seem like anyone had anything really concrete to go on. Just normal neighbor stuff. They were complaining about the noise from the sunshield installation on the building, how it was screwing with their internet. That's it. Nothing I would want to bet on. How much do you want to bet that the installation of the sunscreen wasn't actually that? Jason and Les looked at each other. Okay, Jason said. If you think of anything, let me know. Alright. Hit the streets. Is it a good idea to have them out there? Les asked when the officers were out of earshot. They're pretty charged up right now. We all are, Jason replied, watching the officers as they walked away. But benching them won't help them. They need to stay busy. And that's the end of chapter 6. Alright, let me, I want to make this word search bigger. I'm going to put it up in the corner. Pow. How's that? Does that help? Obviously, my view compared to your view is a wee bit different. I wish it told me how many were remaining. Like, it tells me how many each of you have found, which is fantastic. It does work on mobile. Sweet. Oh, like, look at that. Puzzle completed. Well done to Beeve. Sweet. Good job, everybody. It says play again. Hey, that's super easy. That's fantastic. So all I have to do is get a link just like I do with the puzzle. And then hit play again. That's it. Awesome. The black ones are the ones that have been found. So on mobile, that's how it looks. Okay. Sweet. Alright. Well, I'm super stoked that we found a second community game for you guys to you know, get your hands on. That's awesome. We got a puzzle. And we got a word search. I don't know why I didn't think of the word search first. Like, we're reading a book, which has words in it. Hello. Seems like an obvious connection, don't you think? Two notifications. Okay. I'm going to take a sip of my tea here. Well, aren't you silly? I know. Why didn't you recommend it, Stepmama's mama? Sheesh. You know, sometimes when you're not having the best day, a sip of hot tea, that very first sip, it just hits right, you know? Hey, I'm just here for the books. Okay, that's fair. You know what? That's fair. That's fair. I get it. I do have a comment box, though. If anyone has suggestions, I have a suggestion box, a comment box. It's also called chat. So, you know, feel free to leave any comments or suggestions that you might have. I'll make sure to file them in the appropriate place. Chapter 7 starts on page 83. And I just want to make sure I get rid of my notifications here, just in case. I know that Ash won't be joining us tonight for Fourth Wing. So just wanted to make sure I didn't have any new messages about that, which I don't. I do not. So that's good. All right, chapter 7, page 83. Jason spun his phone on his desk, trying to decide whether to call Jesse Klein or not. The calls to Marcus's teachers had gone as expected. Good kid, good grades, never really in trouble other than the usual innocent kind most kids at his age got into. Nothing to suggest that anything was going on at home. He wasn't surprised, but was glad he could officially cross Jesse off the suspect list. He was sure he'd be crossing Marcus's estranged father off the list as well, but until he did, Jason maintained a healthy suspicion. The stack of files on his desk reminded him of the sheer tonnage of work that sat squarely on his shoulders between the outcome of multiple murder investigations, the flow of splice into the gaps, and the responsibility of a dead officer that was all going to be laid at his feet when Swan had her press conference. Les was right. There were only so many hours in the day, and he could only take on so much. But he also knew that his father-in-law had been right. Follow the evidence, no matter where it leads. Swan might be trying to put his balls in a vice, but Jordan Stone had shown him what it was to be a cop, a detective, and an overall honorable and good person, even when Jason's own father had seemed utterly disinterested in him. He saw his face reflected on the phone's surface. Oh yeah, and then there's that guy. Alexei had never let him win a race, or let Jason tap him out in jiu-jitsu class. He was never mean about it, and never took advantage of the fact that Jason physically couldn't keep up. It never felt like bullying to Jason. It also didn't keep him from seething with frustration either. He couldn't keep up, and sometimes, just sometimes, he hated Alexei for it. Jason swallowed a pang of guilt when a memory popped up unbidden. I haven't seen that word in a while. Jason had just come home from his first round of treatments at the hospital and was feeling achy deep in his bones when his parents told him that Alexei was missing. For just a second, just a fraction of a second, a thought materialized that Jason retracted immediately. Maybe I can finally win one. His phone ringing yanked him out of his nostalgia. He felt his chair tilt dangerously backward before wrestling all 4 feet back to the ground. Thane, he answered into the receiver. Hey, Lou. The Guyan's voice came from the other end. Better get down to Castor and Segedly. We've got another body. Dun dun dun. There's another cut in our story. Time has moved on. Jason and Les pulled up on a block blanketed in controlled chaos. Lights flashed everywhere in a cacophony of strobes. Passerby stopped and rubbernecked the police tape that had been hastily set up around the nondescript warehouse. Jason could see uniformed officers from at least 3 different departments that milled around the scene if they weren't involved in work that required immediate attention. Drones whirred overhead, and several news crews were trying to get the best footage they could for their broadcasts, while reporters spoke into microphones with somber expressions visible through their transparent face masks. The locals were out and about as well, huddled under tarps and detritus precariously stacked and stretched over cellarways and whatever else they could find to support the makeshift protection. Some had cyclers, or things that resembled cyclers, but as to whether they functioned or not, Jason couldn't tell. As often as not, old pieces like that were completely shot and did nothing about the constant particulate count in the air. Others simply wheezed weakly, with no protection from the noxious air. Jason knew it wouldn't kill them immediately, but could feel the burn in his own lungs just from thinking about it. Theirs was a slow death, and one that was delayed by the shots of relief from amping on splice whenever they could get their hands on it. but it was an inevitable spiral. Inescapable. Jason's heart hurt for them. Anyone you know? Les asked. No, Jason replied, hoping to see at least one face he recognized, hoping when he didn't, it was because they had finally gotten out, or at least survived a few more months and were hiding out somewhere else. Les clapped him on the shoulder. They made their choice. Jason side-eyed his partner. You know it isn't that simple. Most of the time they start amping just to get through the day as they go into their third shift in a row. I guarantee none of them would have wanted to end up here. It's not like they didn't know what the stuff was. Not saying they didn't. But we also don't give the rich kids shit when they start amping to be better at sports, get higher grades, or ack a few more dollars out of the stock market. He signed disgust. Things go tits up for them and they just check into rehab. Any consequences are bought off and buried. These folks out here never had the money for that kind of treatment, and they can never escape the consequences. I'm not saying that they should have started using, but why do rich pricks get a pass when they already started with all the advantages?
Yep, that tasted purple.
Well, my goodness, Rexter and purple. It's a party now. Hi guys, how you doing? Welcome to the Puzzle and Word Search book reading stream. Les returned to Jason's point with silence. Exactly, Jason said. Not saying there aren't problems here, Lord knows there are. But how much of it could be solved if the playing field was just a little more level? Buena suerte, kid, Les retorted. Jason lifted the yellow tape, and he and his partner ducked under, wading into the chaos. The Gaian spotted them, waved them to a propped open fire door, and led them inside. How is it that Homicide isn't taking this? Jason asked the junior detective. Well, the body looks like the ones from before, the Gaian said once they were out of earshot from any reporters or civilians. Jason felt his intestines turn into a knot. Sounds like they'll take it, but they also wanted us to take a look just in case it's connected to our investigations. And do we have a timeline? Morning crew found the body when they opened up this morning. Jason glanced over at the detective, who quickly added, We've got them isolated, don't worry. She led them through a maze of small rooms and tight corridors that bellied the size of the building. Best guess is that it happened a few hours ago, sometime overnight. Any ID yet? Les asked. The Gaian shook her head. We're still looking for all of the body. No DNA hits, however. Might be that they were never in the system. How is that even possible? Jason asked. Everyone is in the system. The Gaian shrugged. People slip through, but we did find this. She rooted around in her satchel and pulled out a clear evidence bag. Inside was a red jacket with a dragon embroidered in black on the back. The jacket one of the escapees from the raid was wearing. Jason and Les looked at each other and continued being led down the hall in silence. Two uniformed officers stood guard by a thick metal door. The guy motioned to it, and Jason took a deep breath and let it out before going in, steeling himself for what he expected the scene to look like. The room looked like a giant version of the prep kitchen Jason had worked in for a while in college to help pay his tuition, with stainless steel tables and surfaces everywhere. In the middle of the floor was a pile of meat. Jason breathed slowly and walked around the room. Les began circling the corpse, jotting notes on his notepad. "This is the same guy, right?" the guy asked. Jason ignored the question. "Walk me through it." The guy pulled out her phone and began scrolling through her notes. "Okay, this is a commercial bakery. They make, looks like mostly cakes and cheesecakes for local restaurants and grocery stores and the like. Last shift clocks out at 11 at night. First shift clocks in at 7 in the morning. 7 a.m. to make cakes? Surely you clock in before that." Jason leaned over one of the prep tables to peer between it and the wall. 8 hours with no one else here. That's a pretty big window. He checked his watch. When did the call come in? Looks like 8 this morning. Les looked up at the guy. They clocked in at 7 and didn't call until 8? Why the delay? They were cleaning, Jason said and pulled one of the tables away from the wall. The floor back here? You could eat off it. The guy's face contorted in confusion. Shouldn't that be normal in a kitchen? Les coughed a single chuckle. Never worked in a kitchen before, did you? Jason pointed around the room. None of these tables are on wheels, and there are no scratches on the floor, so they don't make it a habit of pulling them out to clean underneath. He gestured towards the hallway they had entered from. The hallways are mopped on the regular, but there's still dirt where the floors meet the wall, and scuff marks above the baseboards. Means that they usually give the place a precursory cleaning to avoid getting dinged by the health department, but not a very thorough one. Might have something here, Les called and gestured to the pile. Jason approached, the whole while shouting down his brain as it babbled in a panic at the sight of the body. Hey Ash, what are you doing here? You should be sleeping or something. I mean, I'm glad to see you, don't get me wrong. How you feeling? Got a stomach bug? Head cold? I'm about to go rest in bed. Okay. You know what you should do? You should go rest in bed and listen to a book, like an audiobook. Just gonna let that sink in for a moment. I hope you feel better soon. Les held up a hand with torn and ragged flesh at the wrist where it had been wrenched off the arm. See the nails? That greenish yellow? Phenol oxidation, the guy said. Yeah, it's one of the ways we teach drugstores to spot splice cooks. You're trying to? That's good. I hope it goes fast. Jason had a theory but wanted to test his younger coworker. So, what do you think happened? Why did they clean before calling? Your word search is distracting me from doing a workout. I am so sorry. I do apologize. The guy turned in a slow circle and took in the room. My first guess would be that they were trying to hide evidence of the murder. But why call us and leave the body? It's not the murder. It's what they were it's that they were hiding something else. Jason nodded for her to continue. My next guess would be that they were hiding drugs and didn't want any chemical evidence left behind. Most folks here are working for minimum wage. No drug or background checks needed, and given the neighborhood, most places like this know who they're hiring. Your puzzle is distracting me from my beer. Man, I am just... You know, You're right. There. Problem solved. Just kidding. You're going with drugs, Jason said in a neutral tone. The guy shook her head. No, because why clean this thoroughly? And it's a murder, so most people would know we wouldn't care if someone was blowing lines of coke or dipping amps of splice. She scanned the room again, and then at the hand that Les was still holding. This was a lab, but only in the off hours. They knew that would shut the whole place down for days, if not weeks, and they didn't want to lose out on work. Morning crew comes in, sees the body, knows about the extracurricular activities that happen overnight, and cleans up as best as they can. Jason gave a half smile. We'll turn you into a decent detective yet. Put her there, rookie. That's what I'm imagining he said that. Look at this bruising, Les said, pointing to another disembodied limb. There were very clear hand-shaped bruises on whichever appendage it had been. That's peri-mortem. The bodies at the lab didn't have those. Jason's moment of pride in this younger detective was doused in this freezing water of the moment. They took their time. The thought did not bring him comfort. Psychopath? Or interrogation? Hey, Mad Locust, what's up? How you doing? Les shrugged. I think that Venn diagram has some significant overlap. But if I had to guess, Les dug through the meat pile and pulled what looked to be a finger from deep underneath. Okay, can you imagine just digging through a pile of people's body parts and then just finding a finger to pull it out? No. Blech. Blech. Anyway, as Les was saying, neither scene was frenzied. They're brutal and disturbing, and there is unavoidable cruelty in both. But I'm not getting the vibe that this was for fun. How do you figure? Jason asked. Look at the spray patterns. Pretty localized. And at both scenes, the body's parts were piled up, not thrown around the room. No evidence that anything was done with them once they were removed. More like what someone would do when demolishing a porch when they rip up an old piece of lumber free. Les rose from his squat and his knees cracked and popped. Mine too, buddy. Just woke up at 2 a.m. Gonna fall asleep again soon to your shooting deep voice. Well, I hope so. Some of the stuff we're reading in this book is kind of, well, gruesome. But I hope you get back to sleep, because sleep is lovely. This isn't someone who relishes their work, Just someone good at ripping people apart. And given the general order that the parts are stacked, I'd have to say that this was a very crude and violent interrogation. Jason wanted nothing more than to leave the room. He started going over the leads he had for Marcus Klein in his head as a distraction, but then realized there weren't many. I should have looked into that some more, not getting anywhere fast on that. Oh ho, the veteran detective said and held up another disembodied hand. Part of a monstrous scorpion tail was tattooed on the back of it. That's... how do I say that? Gardislik Inc., Les said. Bad news. The name didn't ring a bell for Jason. They knew? Les shook his head. Opposite. Very, very old. Very low-key. International without any specific country or origin. Name means brotherhood in Turkish. But I don't even think they originated there. Honestly, I didn't think they were even operating anymore. But that ink... Les paused. That's not something you get done for fun. Most tattoo artists won't even do it. Kind of like giving a non-Yakuza an Irizumi. Okay, I'm going to work out. You are in my ear. Just call if you need something. That sounds like a good idea, Amles. Have a great workout. What are they into? Jason asked. Drugs? Human trafficking? All of it, Les replied. And they are very good at hiding. Jason pulled out his phone. Okay, Les, seal off the whole building, and if there are any other employees around, let's get them separated so we can start questioning them. The Guyan, have one of the uniforms start pulling any old employee files. Then I need you to bring up the birds so we can see if they caught anything. I'll get the rest of the team here along with the crime scene so we can start processing the scene. And remember, no word to the press about any details. Let's move. Dark clouds threatened to open up at any moment, but that didn't seem to deter any of the reporters or locals that were still milling about in the front of the bakery cum splice lab. Blech. Both painting a study of stark contrast to each other. The reporters in nice, tailored UV suits that could have passed as normal indoor evening wear, and the locals in hand-me-down gear at best, improvised and potentially next to useless materials at worst. Curiosity appeared to be the common denominator, though. No matter how many times they were asked to leave, the request didn't seem to faze them. Some of both groups stood at rapt attention at the police line. In contrast, others attempted to lounge in the meager protection provided by makeshift sun shields of blankets, trash bags, or reclaimed sheet metal, precariously bolted to the sides and roofs of nearby buildings. Others were huddled under the limited space under a newly installed high-end shield over a building down the block. In the distance, the towering sun shields that protected Center City almost gleamed against an angry sky. Hey, why don't you look... What? Oh, okay. I was like, none of this is spelled correctly. But that's because it's not supposed to be. Hey, why don't you look out your own for this? Jason snapped his head around and saw a woman made of sinew and bone, wrapped in patchwork of emergency blankets and regular blankets, a mask that easily could have been older than him, and goggles that were little more than sunglasses. She was slightly hunched, and gnarled old knuckles held her coat closed around her. Her free hand signed something rather insulting at him, but had the tremor of a lifelong splice user. The toll of constantly mangling her DNA was finally resulting in the telltale signs of delirium tremens. "Ma'am?" Jason asked. "Y'all don't do nothing about the rat hole until y'all cops drops a body in there. Now yous are all up in here," she yelled. The cheap speakers in her cycler doing nothing to mask the sound of decades of heavy smoking. "It wasn't us, ma'am," Jason replied as politely as possible. "Yeah, that's what you say," she said as she began to shuffle away, signing more vulgarities. "I seen it, but you sons of bitches ain't gonna indict one of your own. Thin blue line bullshit." An older-looking man with thick gray dreadlocks rolled over in one of the tent shelters next to Jason. "Why no cop did this? Was the bear." "Shut it, Freddy," the woman scolded. "You were tweaking last night. You didn't see shit. I seen it." "Hold on," Jason said, taking a few steps after her. "What do you mean that you saw it? Did you see something?" The woman paused for a moment and looked over her shoulder at him. "Saw one of them cops go in there last night. A few minutes later, the screaming starts, and then it stops, just like that." Jason's stomach dropped to his knees. "You saw a police officer enter the building last night? You're sure?" He had his doubts. The drone footage hadn't seen anything for most of the night, and he knew if she had the DTs, she could also be suffering from hallucination. But she also sounded sure for herself. "It's what I just said," she cawed back at him. "Big boy, too." Her head cocked to one side. Jason pulled out his phone and began taking notes. What happened to the word search? I don't know. That's a great question. You got too much into it? I don't know. That's weird. I wonder... I wonder if it was because I didn't do anything, it timed out. I hope not. See if you can enter this one. Exclamation word search. Yeah, that would be lame. What I've done this time is I've clicked on the page, and if I have to click away from it for some reason, I will try to remember to go back and click on it again. But I'm wondering, because I'm not active with it, if that somehow messes it up. Well, I guess we'll find out. Hopefully not. What's your name, ma'am? Is what Jason just asked. Nah, that's how they get you. I ain't telling you shit. You'll just lock me up and steal my stuff. Nope. Jason decided to take a different approach. Okay then, how about this? No names. What did the mask look like? I don't know. Different. she said. Like tubes coming out of it. Kinda rattled when he breathed. Okay. About what time was this? The older woman scratched at her head through the bonner that covered a nest of brownish gray hair. Let's see. The workers had left. Maybe an hour, maybe 2. She waved her wrists in his face. Don't got a watch? Jason furiously typed notes into his phone. Where were you? And what did the officer look like? She gestured to a collection of dumpsters and refuse piled up into an ersatz shelter. What the hell is that? That looked like it could house a half dozen people. He was tall, real tall, big boy. Couldn't see much else. So, you see him enter the building. How long before you hear the noises? She signed, disturbed. Not noises, screams, like when a cat gets run over, only worse. Like, almost right away. And they just kept going and going and going, and her voice trailed off, repeating the last phrase over and over, repeating disturbed with her bony fingers each time. And Jason knew he was losing her. You sure I can't convince you to come in with me? We can get you a dry place while the storm blows through. Get you a good meal. The old lady's goggled eyes snapped to Jason's face, and her DTs increased. What? No, I ain't coming with you. I ain't seen shit. Leave me alone. She began hobbling away towards the building with the newly installed sunshield. And Jason knew that was the end of the interview for the moment. Give her a few, Freddie said. She get like that. But mark my words, the bear gonna get you. And how about you? Jason asked the older man. You see anything? Freddie shook his head vigorously. Nah, I ain't getting involved. You think she's being straight with me? Jason asked, nodding towards the older woman as she teetered down the street, scratching at her arm. She said she's seen it. She's seen it, Freddie replied. Yeah, I just wish the drones could back her up, Jason murmured. Freddie let out a wheezing laugh. Boy, you knew, ain't you? Jason signed that he didn't understand. Freddie's laughing continued and devolved into a coughing fit. Once he finally caught his breath, he said, Gene Bank is calling 911 with fake calls, and Freddie fitted with his hand like a bug flying away. Do it whenever they don't want no police looking over their shoulder. Jason gave Freddie the side eye from under his headgear. That doesn't sound right, Freddie. Okay, young bull. Don't no one listen to old Freddie no more. But maybe you could spare a few bucks for my time? Jason ignored the older man and tapped another note into his phone, but felt the impulse to look back after the older woman. She had joined a group of other indigents gathering under the eaves of a building with a brand new sunshield. Likely, he thought, an anticipation of the approaching storm. The rain carried just as much toxin as the air, but at least under the shield it would be drier, and any watershed would be filtered. The building itself was old and run down. Jason noticed not some new tenement or gentrification project. He walked down the street towards it, his curiosity piqued. He knew it wasn't uncommon for businesses to install better shields when moving into a new location, usually at the behest of the city to help improve the neighborhood. But this didn't look like anyone was moving in. Some of the windows were boarded over. Others simply empty eye sockets staring out of the bones of an abandoned building. Graffiti marked up most of the walls. More than likely, if Jason guessed correctly, there would be more than a dozen people flopped outside, either squatting or using it as a bolt hole while their high ran its course. Not a real estate developer's dream scenario. Some of the gathered, huddled masses there made a point to look away when he approached. Others' vacant, begoggled stares followed him as he walked by. He found a stanchion holding part of the shield up and looked for the installation placard and found it bolted on at eye level, right where it was supposed to be, with the installer code and relevant data stamped into it. Up to code, so whoever was hired to do the install is above board. He tapped the number in his phone, and a moment later a name popped up on the screen. Greenway Protectives. He opened up the details to quickly scroll through, but stopped when his radio cracked to life. Hey, Lou. Les's voice came over the radio, interrupting Jason's train of thought. What's your 20? Jason snapped a photo of the placard and answered the call. About 2 blocks south on Kensington. What's up? We're getting ready to wrap up here. Not sure you wanted to do with the witnesses. Hang on. I'll be right there. In the short time it took Jason to walk back to his new crime scene, fat drops of water began to spatter on the pavement. He ducked into the bakery just as the sky opened up and sheets of rain poured down in a torrent. He shook his jacket to shed some of the dampness and navigated through the mess of rooms to the break room where they had been sequestering the staff all day. Les was leaning against the doorframe, reading through his notepad. So, what do we do with them? Les said without looking up, gesturing with his head towards the half-dozen workers gathered around some beat-up folding tables. We get anything useful? Les shook his head. Nothing we hadn't worked out for ourselves. Most of them admitted to knowing about the lab, but it doesn't look like any of them actually operated it. Just working stiffs trying to make it another day. Biggest concern is them talking, I figure. I'm sure if we looked into it, we could find some outstanding warrants, keep them locked up for a day or two. I'm not sure I like that, Jason said. Unless one of them has something major outstanding, let's cut them loose. They've been through enough, and we may need them to be cooperative later. Just make sure that they know they can't talk to anyone about what they saw. Say it's an open investigation and it would be a felony. Something like that. Les cocked an eyebrow and got a bemused expression on his face. Telling me to lie, kid? That's not like you. Jason smirked. Guess you're rubbing off on me. But we really can't have them talking. And if it's the only way... Les held up his hands defensively. Hey, no judgment here. By your command. The tattoo is something, though, right? Jason said. That can't be a coincidence. That tat someone found at a splice lab who also ran from a stash house with a record haul of the stuff and where a missing kid was. Coincidence means you're on the right path, Les said, echoing Jason's words. And that is the end of Chapter 7. So, let's do a quick recap here while I sip some tea. Back at the stash house, they realize that there's probably a hidden door. They figure out that there's this massive HVAC that's too powerful for the building. This HVAC is also helping cooling all their fridges, but within it, they found a passageway that helps them. But in the process, they also find a dead body. There's a pin, leads to a youth center, yet to be investigated. And then, as they've canvassed the area, I forget how many blocks they had to go. I want to say 6 blocks or something like that. They come across this warehouse that's used as a bakery. And within it, more mangled, gruesome bodies. And of course, we can't forget the lovely old lady that swears there was a cop that went in. If she was right, though, was the cop the one that did the mangling, or is he in the pile? And then there's also that tattoo that's part of a specific gang that's, you know, tried and true, if you will, of the old age, like real solid scary stuff. But they're the ones that are dead. If they're the ones that are dead, whoever did that must be worse. Right? If the gang that you don't want to cross is the one that gets killed, that says something. The tea is delicious, and the hot water is soothing to my throat. How's the puzzle going? You can change your color, by the way, in this bottom corner right here. Let's see if I can find a word. I like word searches. They're fun. Let's see. What do we got? Addiction is in the top left corner. Let me see if I can find addiction. But otherwise, for those of you listening and, you know, doing your thing, I hope that the reading tonight, even though gruesome and disgusting at times, I hope it's been a chill place for you to hang out. And you shouldn't have had any ads. Which, that's a good thing. Because we don't need no stinking ads. Word searches are my fave. I'm glad. I'm glad I found it. Because, I think this could be a good thing. Tell you what I'm not finding, though, is the word addictive. Or, sorry, addiction, not addictive. Where is addiction? Oh, where is addiction? I also need to see how long the next chapter is to see if we have time. Because in about 27 minutes, we'll be reading a different book in Discord. ! 4th if you want to hear some of Fourth Wing this evening in the event chat. It's gonna be awesome. Okay, maybe I skipped a page here. Let me just go page by page. Or maybe this chapter is just a long one. Jeepers. It might be. Seriously? Is this the end? Wow, that's a long one. Okay, so that's 90. Yeah, we definitely won't have time to do this chapter. Unfortunately, not tonight. It's like 16, 17 pages, something like that. But that's okay. We can still hang out for a little bit. Maybe I can find a word. I'm still trying to find the word addiction. But let me put my bookmark in here. So we're only got 2 chapters in tonight, but that's okay. And you know, with as gruesome as this book is, there's only so much of that one should read. You know, in a sitting, that is. Especially at nighttime when you're getting ready to go to bed. Be all comfy, cozy, and go to sleep. No one needs to dream about your body parts being ripped from you. Ooh, I found it. I found it. Yes. I found a word. Hey, Zarias. What's up? How you doing? Well, the puzzle is coming along quite nicely too. Well done. What's my next word? Camel. Okay. We can find a camel. We can do that. Maybe. You know those moments when you think you found a word and then all of your hope gets crushed because like the last 2 letters or whatever, you know, don't quite get you there. That keeps happening to me right now. Does anyone have any fun plans for the weekend? We will be attending a basketball game on Saturday. March Madness and all that. Should be a packed house, but thankfully, because we are season ticket holders, we got dibs on getting seats for the game. And so we kind of pre-booked them in anticipation that they would choose our location to play. And they did. So that's great. So that'll be fun. Okay. I cannot find camel. Has anyone seen a camel? Camels should not be this hard to find. And why are these words not in alphabetical order? That's just driving me bonkers. See, I thought I found it again, and then it disappeared. Just wasn't correct. It froze on you? Oh no. I am so sorry. So obviously this version that I found may not be the cream of the crop. Trousers bottom right going up. Oh, I see it. Yeah. Okay, thank you. I mean, I was looking for camel, but at least we found trousers. All right. So here's what I'm going to do for next time. We're still going to have the puzzle because that is a tried and true, and we know it works, and people like the puzzle. I am going to look for alternatives to the word search that we found. This one is dkmgames.com. I'll see if I can find another option. If not, I can at least fall back on this, just in case. Right? So, at least we'll have something to go off of. When I'm on mobile, the words are alphabetical? What? This is ridiculous. How are they alphabetical on the phone, but not on the PC? Unreal. Because earlier, I found the word cereal, but I wasn't sure if it was in the puzzle, or in the word search, I mean. So I didn't circle it, but I did just see it on the list. But now I can't remember where I found the word. God damn it. I found camel, third row from the top left, 6 up from the bottom. What? Hold on. Third row from the left, 6 from bottom. Camel. Good eye, Stepmama's mama. Well done. Alright, where the heck did I see cereal? Because I know it's in there now. And I did see the word. I should have just circled it, and just to see if it worked, you know? There's also cafe. Cafe is a word. Sweet. See? Sometimes you just gotta try it. You have a system. Of course you do. Of course. Oh, there it is. There's cereal. Boom. I found 5 now. I feel pretty good about myself. Alright. Bear with me while I switch screens. Or actually, I don't need to switch screens. I can just do this. I almost knocked my tea over. That would have been terrible. Let me put the lid on and put it back on the warmer. You stay nice and warm, tea. Stay nice and warm. We need someone to raid. Let's take a look. Who do we got? There is someone else doing reading fun right now. Would you like to continue the reading fun category? If not, I have a plethora of other options. Plethora. Let's see. There's Gentle Fox, who we haven't rated in a long time as well. What is he doing right now? He's probably reading something. Oh, he's reading The Great Gatsby. I think we need to raid Mr. Fox. He's reading he's reading that. He's reading The Great Gatsby. That's... I just started typing The Great Gatsby. Good grief. Okay. Gentle Fox ASMR. Alright, folks. Thank you for hanging out. I'll be back on Sunday. We'll keep going with our gruesome story. We're on page 99, so we're about a third of the way through, give or take a few pages. But yeah, I hope you have a great night. Thanks for hanging out. And I will see you on Thursday. And I'll try and see if I can find a more secure, you know, steady word search. But if not, at least we have DKM to fall back on. So, until then, please take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and have a fantastic night. Oh, and don't forget, check out the Discord if you want to hear Fourth Wing, which starts in about 15 minutes. Good night.